don't handle words very well, or when we don't really try to see if whatever you meant is actually universal to your audience, we run into problems. So simples. So whatever, when you're writing to people, you should make sure that the language is actually what you mean, all right? Even in Kiswahili, even in vernacular, some words may mean different things to different people. So we must be very careful. If you can see this picture here, when you say a bus is very big, and probably that person has seen, the only thing that person has seen is a bicycle, you might think, yeah, probably a bus is about the same size with a bicycle, all right? So it's very important that you really make sure that the wordings actually meant you have an understanding with each other. So that is one. So some time back, Ministry of Health, to show the need for people to have a small family, they used an umbrella. So the father and the mother would use the umbrella, and then it's unable to cover the children because there were many. But the natives would say, all right, why not have a big umbrella? So you see, already the visual communication has lost its meaning. So it's very, very important to do that. But you really need to make sure, even if it is a message, make sure it is very clear. And we manage to do that if we pre-test. So like you people are from the health profession, if you make a poster, like now we have so many posters on COVID, yes, are we sure that the public really understands them well? All right? Yeah. So you need to pre-test it. Then the other one, of course, is a badly expressed message. Yes, you really have to write very well to make sure that it is succinct and not wordy, so that the message is very clear. And then unclarified assumption. Sometimes we can assume everybody knows how COVID is spread, but that can be very far from the truth. So we must really show people. We don't assume anything. So messages will be, is it for the general public, is that for the students? Yeah, so they really have, don't assume anything. Yes, assuming anything is not good in communication. It will give you a problem. So enough for semantic. Anybody wants to add something? Or do you want to share an example of a message that has double meaning? What does silence mean? I'm alone, we are good.
Yeah.
No, you don't want to give me an example. And you people are young. Is there any message that you've seen somewhere or heard it somewhere, a message? All right, let's come to this one, emotional or psychological. I want the person who called me in the morning to take on that, not that as a punishment, but Rosafi too. Do we understand emotional? What does emotional mean? We'll have a lesson called on emotional intelligence, which is a very nice topic. I really like it. Emotional intelligence. But what is emotional? Oh, class, please. Emotional.
Emotional is something that is abstract, and it affects mainly the mental.
All right. So it's good. It's something, emotional is an expression when we have emotions. So we emote. So when you are very emotional, like when you have lost somebody or when you are upset, you cannot communicate well. And that's why many people would say, because of my current situation, I'm unable to say something. That is good because your emotions affect you. Sometimes you've broken down. But all of us are human beings. We're supposed to emote. But as you learn later, particularly the people in the nursing and generally many health workers, you cannot afford to be emotional all the time because you will be unable to function. So we adapt another style. We become empathic. 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 So that, all right, you sympathize with them, but you don't allow it to enter your soul. I mean, to affect you, because if somebody passes on and you break down also, who will comfort these patients? So you emote. It is different from what men do. A lot of men cry, but they cry in the toilet. So they go and flush the toilet as they cry, so the children don't see them. That's different. But empathy, so when a doctor loses a patient, it affects him or her, but he shouldn't. Some do break down actually, and even some leave job. Some people have left work, but you are supposed to be empathic. You are human. Tell them, I'm really sorry. This is what has happened, and please, you need some counseling, so that you still remain in charge. All right. So that is emotion. All right. So that is very important. So you don't become emotional, it will affect your communication skills. If you are a nurse and you break down because of death of somebody, it will affect your communication skills. But you're not supposed to be metallic, you're supposed also to show some empathy to them, some concern that actually you actually understand how they are feeling. All right. Any question? So we need to distinguish between empathy and being emotional. So health workers were supposed to be empathic. And that's why, as a health worker, you will not treat your own relatives unless when very necessary, because of the emotions that will be associated with it, you will have a lot of problems. Any question? Any question? Hey, you guys don't want to add anything. All right? All right. Now, the other one is psychological barrier. If I have a very bad quarrel, disagreement with my wife, I cannot deliver a classroom very well because you will be affected psychologically. Or if I have a lot of financial problems, you might be unable to facilitate a communication session well. So as human beings, you can excuse yourself. Do not put yourself, if it's possible that you are already working and you have a lot of psychological problem, probably you've disagreed with your boyfriend if you have one or a girlfriend, and it really affects you, it might be better to ask for permission. Ask the boss that today I'm really not so well. I wouldn't mind taking my day off today so that And if it's done in good time, your request will be honored. So it's very important. So we are human beings. You can have been conned. You could have thought you have gotten yourself a nice boyfriend and you have a frog for a person. So, and that is life. We have really to kiss so many frogs before we get the correct one. So these things affect us. So we really have to be very careful. All right? Any other psychological barrier you can think of? Msinyamaze sana. Any other?
Ill health.
Yes, ill health, yes. Yeah, if you have a lot of pain, even toothache, it can affect you.
Financial status, that is.
Yes, financial status, yes. I worked in MTC when people used to be, even in the university, people used to be given money for meals. I mean, the university used to give food free. Then later, when this thing pay as you eat came in, we would see students who have not eaten for many days, particularly the boy child. They are very naughty. They have drunk their money or used them on some other agenda. So when we've had incidences of students collapsing in class, yeah. So they must have felt a lot of discomfort. So that's it. Yeah. Lack of food. God forbid disagreement in your parents and you come to know of it, it can affect you. All right. So we just need to be aware of these things. These are things that people say, eh, na huyo nurse alikuwa naongeaje leo? Yeah. Then the other one is inattention. That's why you find most of the time I'm asking you people to contribute something. Yeah? Because I want to be sure I'm not talking to myself. Yes. But when you have a face-to-face, I would be able very easily to know, this guy is with me physically or this lady is with me physically. Hako kwingine. So that is very important in attention. Yeah. So even tomorrow when you give your health talk, watch on your response. Watch. If you really see that they are not, sometimes you need, are you okay? They say yes, but you can really, you need to be very careful on that. So you notice that you are alone, all the others are passengers, it is time to take action. All right? Yeah. Undue reliance on the written word. I want somebody to contribute to that. One of you, please. Yes? Mmoja wenu? Reliance on written word. Yeah.
A written communication
Uh-huh.
might fail to explain the purpose of order.
Yes, very good. Yeah, sometimes this written communication, if people depend very much on it, sometimes to get feedback on it is a bit slow. But on another level, if you're really addressing people that will come to presentation skills, don't read directly. People would say, mbona anatusomea, si angetutumia tu. So you have to explain. The same when you are teaching, I should not read these things due all the time. I should add something. This should be just to assist me in remembering so that I can explain. The same with you people. So tomorrow when you are presenting something, don't read verbatim. And that's why a nice slide should not be very congested. When it's congested, we say it is noisy. All right, so it's very important. And then the last one, failure to communicate. So failure to communicate, you are not getting feedback from the others. So that's what you say, failure to communicate. So there are other things that really affect us. if you are guilty of something, you've done somebody something bad, the best way is to apologize and come out of it. If you have a fear for something, confess. Say, I have this fear. And if you have worry, talk to somebody. Talk to somebody. I always have this anxiety, fear. Yeah. So talk to somebody. Personal barriers. Somebody to say something, personal barriers. You can use what I've put on the slide to explain it. Personal barriers, please. Someone?
One may lack time to
Yeah.
respond to a message.
Yes, lack of time. Yes. So sometimes you write for mails at midnight. So by the time people are seeing it, it is 8. So that one can also bring an issue, lack of time. And then to respond to a communication, you need time, adequate time. So sometimes also when you are given a very, very short deadlines, I want you to do this by tomorrow, then we will not communicate. And sometimes when I do the work, it might be shoddy. All right? Thank you. Another one? I want somebody to speak to this one, attitude of superior. The more you talk out this thing, the better it will be for you in terms of remembering. Yes, attitude of superior?
I think
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
attitude of superior.
Mm.
For instance, there's a teacher and there's a student who can't like a student who's not ready to what is it called, to be taught, or yeah, like he or she can't listen to the teacher like what he's talking about.
That's a good example. Yeah. So if you fear your teacher so much, there cannot be very good communication. If you also fear your parents, maybe they are hostile to you, you cannot have good communication. All right? The same tomorrow when you qualify, if you really have a fear for your bosses, you will be unable to communicate. So it's an important thing. So even you tomorrow, you guys are doing your bachelor's, so you are going to be the managers. So you can discover that a lot of people, junior staff, may fear you. So something goes wrong, they don't tell you because they fear you. Watatupigia kelele, huyu mama mkali, huyu baba anasumbua. So it's very important. And please fight this thing out even when you qualify. Make sure that there is good communication throughout. Yeah, make sure there is good communication all the time so that you don't have problems. Yeah, you can fail because of that. You can imagine if somebody has stolen something in the ward and you being the in charge, you are responsible. But so somebody saw it going, but it's mkubwa. But if you have good communication with them, you relate well with them, you will not have a problem. They will tell you, hey boss, jana nimeona fulani ameondoka na ile sterilizer, ameenda na ile blood pressure machine, so you will be okay. Haya, fear of challenge of authority.
This is whereby the senior, I think the junior may fear to like express themselves fully because they don't want maybe to show their bosses their weaknesses.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then thereby not communicating well to others because of fear.
Yeah, it is true. It's true. Yeah, like for instance, you are the in charge. You fear your bosses very much. You don't want to write an email to them. You don't want to talk to them. That can be a problem. And what will happen is that it will affect your productivity. You want something for maybe your hospital. You are fearing to ask. You wouldn't go anywhere. That is important. It could even be like now, this case of PPEs, personal protective equipment. So your staff don't have PPEs, but you fear so much. You fear so much to ask for them. So that will affect your work. You might risk your staff. Yeah, well, that is the other thing. And then lastly, lack of awareness. Sometimes you are simply not aware, you are not informed. So sometimes to be a good communicator, you really need to be somebody who is a lifelong learner. You are always seeking to know the best, all right? So if you're starting, you might be able, you keep, whatever you learn in school, by the time actually you qualify, most of it will be outdated, particularly if it is things to do with management of patients. Most of it will be outdated. So you really have to be a lifelong learner, all right? Now, the other time I introduced something called hearing and listening. Who can distinguish for us? And that is something I like asking in exams.
Hearing is just to like having the ability to receive an information without analyzing. But when you listen, you take the information, you analyze it properly before. Yeah, it's just like taking information and analyzing it well and understanding.
Very good. So we normally, to remember all those nice words you've used, we say we hear with our brain. We listen rather with our brain. So when you are listening, you're trying to understand. Yes, and many of us, behind all these quarrels you hear, this misunderstanding, the fights, the insults people do on each other, it is largely because of lack of communication, lack of listening. Because if you listen, you can discover that that was where the problem is, all right? So it's important to be a listener. And to be a listener, it's an active process. So as the person is talking to you, as the person is talking to you, you keep on paraphrasing. Yes, did you see this? Did you mean this? Yeah. So that way the person is even aware that you are actually listening. So sometimes, and this is very common among we teachers, when you come, yeah, we have no time, Bwana. You just, what was it? What's the problem? And I'm talking to you as I'm walking away. So that is wrong. And you can also do the same when you qualify and your junior staff, or even your bosses are talking to you, you are moving. So that is quite something, all right? Yeah, so we need to create time to listen. It's better to reschedule an appointment with a client till when you have time rather than doing half job. All right, and people utilize also this thing. If you really don't show, like tomorrow when people will qualify, people who authorize expenditures. So sometimes clerks in the accounts department have known that they'll bring a voucher for you to sign almost 5-ish. So you'll be so much in a hurry to go home. Don't sign. Just tell them, let that one hold on till tomorrow. You should have actually brought it earlier. So you can sometimes sign something, yeah. And even some doctors have signed for themselves their own death certificates because they are brought and they're just signing them. So you can sign that you have actually died. So the other one is once when we speak, we need to be very conscious of the number of words we produce in a per minute. So there are people who can do 360 words per minute. That's pretty fast. And when you do like that, then you might be talking to yourself. So we really need to talk, see that you can do about 120 words per minute or even less. Yeah. And then of course the other one, people who might not have attended a training like this, because I told you we started teaching communication skills actively in this country in the mid-90s. So we have a big bulk of people who have not done communication skills. Yes, and once there might be some who don't see a reason to do communication skills, but communication skills are the best. Whatever will make you to be said to be a good health worker is not likely so much on what you do, but how you communicate. I gave you an acronym the other time, a mnemonic rather, to remember some of these things. So eye contact with the audience is very important, and make it a habit. Even as you are growing in the profession, always maintain an eye contact with any person you are speaking to. It shows you have confidence, you're in charge. And usually when people are about to cheat you, if you maintain good eye contact, they will always look the other way around. So it's something worthwhile. Body awareness, yeah, talk to somebody or listen to somebody in a way that your body shows you that you are interested in. Sometimes you're talking to somebody, his body posture is just telling you, when are you leaving? Yeah, so be very aware of that. Expressions, watch out for those ones. Sometimes when you are talking to somebody, people can show expressions of disbelief, wameshangaa, expression of bewilderment, expression of shock, pain. So we always need to do that. Then managing your time. Know how much content you need to share out and know how much time you need for it. And then practice. There's a nice lesson that we're going to have where I'm going to show you tips of presentation. And one of them is for you to be a good communicator is to watch the experts, Kina Obama, PLO, among the others. So the final thought about communication is to be understood and to be a good listener, always. There is no reason for opening your mouth if people will not understand you. So we communicate for understanding, and to be a good listener is very, very crucial. Engage your brain before opening your mouth. And even the Bible warns you, whatever comes out of your mouth, you cannot retrieve it. If by bad luck you quarreled with your parent and you called him stupid, you cannot undo it. It has come out, or your brother or your colleague. So think very hard before you say something. You would rather look as if, but take your time to think before you say something. Many people really regret what they have said because words don't come back. So think very well, not only of passing nasty words, of preventing yourself from passing nasty words, but also think of, you really want to pass a message. What are my choice of words? What are my choice of media? What am I going to use? Think of those ones, yeah, before you say a word. Yeah. But the most important thing, before you say a word, before you answer a question, think. Yes. Mm. And that applies to general life. Even before you get married, think. Before you say yes. Mm. Before you want to leave school for some reason, think very hard. Yeah. But in terms of communication, you must think before. Otherwise, you'll be saying, sorry, I didn't mean that. No, but think. Today's communication sets the tone for tomorrow's relationship. Yes. By being an effective communicator, by the way, we also sing this thing of you people being communicators, because you will not work alone. You will work with a team. And the thing that makes a team to become dysfunctional is lack of communication. So if you're a good communicator, you will find people will like you, they want to see you in teams. So the time you say there's a committee, yes, we want to have so and so, we want to have Ben. Yeah. So that is it. So this is what somebody has said, a former president. If I went back to college again, I would concentrate on two things, on two areas: learning to write and to speak before an audience. All right? Nothing in life is more important than the ability to communicate effectively. Communicating effectively. Yes. And that's why you've heard people saying you can really ask. You tell somebody to jump, they'll ask you how high. It depends on how you communicated. Yeah. Any question up to where we have reached before I start the next topic? Sema, any? Florence?
Yes.
Anything you want to add?
No.
At least you have an idea. So we can go to our next topic.
Yes.
You have the other class at what time?
11:30.
All right, so we can start another topic, then we will. We're actually moving in good speed, so let me upload the next presentation. But if there's any question, So I'm about to share. We're able to see that? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is a lesson I've always liked very much about public speaking. How many of us have had embarrassing moments when you've been called upon to say something? And be honest, it will not go beyond this class. Like you were there yesterday when we had the orientation of COVID. Assuming you were in one big lecture hall and you were asked to give a vote of thanks, how many of us would get disturbed with that request?
Me.
Even have problems, even to communicate with in family meetings, they would rather somebody else does the speaking. So one thing that, just like teaching, there's always this argument whether a teacher is made or born. But then, likewise for a speaker, yes, there are people who are really endowed and gifted with speaking in public. But for some of us, it might be a challenge and we have to learn it. And there's no time that one stops learning. It's only when you die. We are not even sure. Maybe people still learn also at that time. So the best thing to do is to watch the masters. So in YouTube, which I really trust all of you have an account, that will be one of my cuts. I will want to prove that you really have those things, is to watch the people who can speak. What are examples of global people you've heard them speak very well that you know of? All right. So, who is one of the speakers you know of in this world who has inspired you?
Winfrey Oprah.
Yes, Winfrey Oprah is a wonderful speaker. Yes, so she really speaks, and it would be a pleasure to be able to speak like her. Who else? Mwingine?
Michelle Obama.
Yes, Michelle Obama. Yes, a good speaker. Yes. Now, to be fair to the boy child, let's get also some from the male. And also from the male speakers in this class, or the male students. Na wasubiri. Nani mwingine?
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, Steve Jobs, though he's passed on, yeah. Though most of Steve Jobs was the inventor of the Apple group of machines. But he was more of, how do I say? Yeah, he could write, he could also speak, but most of the time he wrote most of his things. Wisdom, he shared his wisdom, all right? Good, so we need to watch the masters, people like Martin Luther King, all right?
Mahatma Gandhi.
Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere. People who really know, and those people you can find them on YouTube. Watch them. Even some of our preachers can really preach very well, can speak very well. Yeah. Of course, with the exception of Nganga, but both of guys can speak very well. And they are good. So you watch them, watch their postures, how they pose as they speak, how they gesticulate with their hands, their facial expression, their eye contact. And you don't stand like a statue speaking, you have to keep on moving. It's only the president who is not allowed to do that because of security reasons, but you're supposed to speak as you move. Yes, but don't be very dramatic, move within, all right? So they will inspire you to make a nice presentation. So if you know for some reason you really not so good with public speaking, watch some of those things and you get most of them in YouTube. There could be others that we didn't talk about. Yeah, wonderful. Steve Harvey, nice TV, can talk very nicely. So they are good. You also get, we all know, many of you might, some of you might be lucky, but English for many of us is a third language. So we might also get new words and how to use some words. So it's very important. So watch the masters. The next one, know your material. Why is that one important?
Knowing material will avoid like to mix concepts and topics and everything, mixing things, just to in order to be direct on point and precise.
That is wonderful. Yes. Yeah. If you don't know your material, then what will you present? So tomorrow, if you are called to go and talk to some vulnerable OVC, orphans, or vulnerable children about HIV, you cannot just wake up in your bed and head there. You have to do some homework, research. What is it that I'm going to talk about HIV to teenage? You have to do some research. You just don't walk in to a classroom. Even preachers. Password. HP. So make sure you know all your staff very well. If I told you to come and talk about family planning to some young mothers, you cannot come and say, you will have to go and read books, know the various methods that are available in Kenya that are used, the indications why they are used. So you have to know all that, prepare them, have pictures of those contraceptive things, have them ready. So know your material, all right? Yeah. So you really have to know your material. If you don't know your material, you will be embarrassed. The other thing, you'll be asked questions and you'll behave as if water is burning. You know, water does not burn. Utashangaa sana. You can be very surprised. Yeah. So you really have to know your material. Yeah. So it plays an important role in the success of every presentation. You have to know thy material. Even a preacher, if a preacher can pick a verse and speak onto that verse for 30 minutes or 1 hour, that means he or she has prepared. So it is no exception in the academia. It is no exception in our professional careers. Tomorrow you will be required to do field talks. You will not just walk in there. So very, very important. Without good material, you may not really know what to present. That's to be sure you have good material in hand to last. So don't rush to prepare a presentation that we are told to come and present something at in the evening of today. You should have started preparing 3 days earlier so that you have an opportunity to internalize it. Yeah. Any question? So the other one is to define your audience. So, am I going to talk to children? Am I talking to adults? Am I talking to people who have gone to school? I remember I used to teach one time in Tanzania, things that relate to skills lab. And there were presentations that they demanded that you had to teach them in Kiswahili, and you know, we Kenyans are not very good in Swahili. So we really had to struggle. Particularly when we started teaching people called simulated patients, people we were training so that they can act diseases for the students. So I really to struggle to writing in Kiswahili. So as you put your presentation there, they see a lot of grammar. They're really good in Swahili. They're really polished. So even as you speak, they're really very amused how terrible you're doing. Yeah, but that's on a light touch. So you need to define your audience very clearly. Who am I speaking to? Yes. And what message do I think these people need? Yeah, that is defining your audience. So you should know the people you're going to present to, executives, CEOs, they are university students. So you really have to be very, very good with that. So if you have been asked to speak to, we used to have something when I used to work at IntraHealth, we used to have something called brown bag. So it was that actually around lunch hour, somebody would present something to colleagues. So you always did something. So you'd always make sure that you present something that can interest people. Yeah, otherwise your brown bag will not be appreciated for that matter. So if you have been called to speak to students, choose something that can excite them, career-wise, all that, all right? Or health. It's always important to create a good impression to your colleagues, to your audience. Make sure you can smile a bit. You look confident. You are not shaking like a leaf, so that people can have faith in you. Yes. And this is somebody what I've said. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. That's why people will say, oh, yeah, the preacher talked nicely. He was nice. What did he talk about it? Sometimes people may not recall that, but what they are certain is they enjoyed the talk. All right? Yeah, so that is what it means. practice, practice, practice. You really need to practice so hard for everything. So, my background, I've really trained people in a skills lab where people learn clinical skills, how to put a catheter, how to remove blood, how to deliver. I've worked there for many years, not only here, but even outside the country. So there's something of competence. You want to do something till you are, there are stages of competence. So the first stage is usually unconsciously incompetent. You know, you don't know. Then later you can become unconsciously competent. Consciously incompetent. You are now aware that you don't know. And then as you practice, you become consciously competent. That's the third stage. So you practice, you remember this is followed by another step, you are very careful with that. But later, you reach the automatic one, where you say you are unconsciously competent, like the way you can ride a motorbike, a bicycle. I don't ride a motorbike. So you don't think that you will fall or even drive a vehicle. You don't have to think about it. So the same with this, you really need to practice. So you can practice in your room, practice so that you can know how much time. Nowadays it's easier to practice because you can record them and then you can preview them again. So practicing how to speak. Believe me, you and people like Obama, they do practice. So they know the words, how they come. Practice is key to success. The more you practice, the easier it will be. And that applies to every skill. If you tomorrow, when you learn how to stitch, when you go to the skills lab, practice so hard until you can stitch at any time. So when you will go to the clinical area, you will not have a problem because you have become unconsciously competent. Ushajua unaweza kuamsha usiku ukafanya. All right. The same with this communication. So even when it comes to taking history, practice, and that's the best. By the way, the world has become so competitive that nowadays when you qualify, you will be asked that we ask you to start work today and we'll observe you for a week. So they just watch. They watch as you do your procedures. If they notice a lot of incompetence in you, they wouldn't hire you. And some are not very nice. They might not even pay you a cent. So practice so that you avoid those moments. So where do we practice? In front of a mirror. Also, if you are staying alone. You can practice in front of a mirror. It's the best, actually. You can see it. You can actually practice in front of your phone. In front of a camera, you can practice. Sorry. Sorry, what has happened now? Huh? Huh? It's not going well. You're able to see? Are you able to see? Huh?
No.
All right, I know something. Nani? And that's all. And now?
Not yet.
It will come. And now? Are you able to see anything?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So you can also practice to a friend. You can practice to your parents if they are willing, your brothers. And if you really like animals, you can also practice in front of your dog, and you practice. So the important thing of practicing is that you get to know that you know the material well. You also get roughly how much time you need. I know it doesn't feel very nice talking to a mirror, but I can assure you the dividends are a lot. There's nothing as good as you stand in front of an audience and you know what you're talking about. It's a nice feeling. Yeah. So this guy is saying there's no glory in practice. It's not good. Talking to a dog, talking to somebody who might be not be interested, but they say without practice there is no glory. Sure. The fifth one, if you look at your internet nowadays, PowerPoint came, this is what I'm using here, PowerPoint came to this country around the year 2000. And many people are now getting to use to PowerPoint. But in abroad, and if you get time today, you can Google, there's something called a presentation called Death of PowerPoint. People abused PowerPoint so badly that people don't prepare for their content. So they copy all the notes and paste it on the PowerPoint. Then you have a PowerPoint that is so crowded, it's called busy. So that is very wrong. So nowadays there are conferences that they will tell you, please don't come with PowerPoints. Now they even came another tool called Prezi. How many of us have heard of it? Prezi. Not the musician, Prezi. So there's a software called Prezi. So Prezi is different from PowerPoint in that it cannot take in more than 50 words. So automatically it will limit you on the number of words that you can type on it. So there's some, so bottom line, what I'm driving at is that please do not read your speech. Even you see Uhuru Kenyatta, he's compelled to read, but he's always very delighted when he's through with the written speech so that he can talk now, freestyle. So do not read your speech. Try to have talking points. Otherwise, people would feel very bored and they would feel cheated. Why did this guy come to read his speech? So reading speech will never make your presentation successful. It is terrible. So public speaking, people don't like. So very important. So the audience will always prefer hearing what you say rather than listening to what you read. All right? So the audience always prefer hearing what you say rather than listening to what you read. Yeah. A speech, you can see the audience here really captivated by this man. Whatever he's talking about, from the picture we can say for real, he's really captivating them. We'll see a funny picture in a short while. Therefore, you should write down the main ideas so that you can glance at them occasionally. Yes, I'm not saying you go there, you can memorize everything, fine, but you can actually write them and then you speak to them. So remember to look at your audience friendly when you speak. Yeah, people like friendly people. And Kenyans are friendly. Yes. So any question up to where we have reached? Yes, boredom can come very easily. Haraka sana, boredom can come. So try to spice your presentation with some nice jokes. Yes. Of course, be very careful not to jokes that might hurt others on their faith, or ethnicity. Yeah, those are the main things. Political affiliation. So just try to look for some jokes jokes that can make people to laugh, right? Jokes that it causes what you call stimulus variation. It breaks your monotony of your voice. So always do that. So have some jokes. So some good sense of humor will make your presentation worthwhile. It can keep them from sleeping. Yeah. So try to think of some jokes occasionally. If it's a presentation, you can also have a small clip of some fun, just to vary the variation. So it's also good to have a sense of humor, because when you have a sense of humor, people like you, and leadership is using others to achieve the organizational mission. So if people like you, they are likely to work with you. So very, very important. So you can see Obama here must have been very tired, must have been those conferences where they use translators. So you can see boredom can easily, yeah. So, and boredom, once the first person starts yawning, the whole hall will yawn. So but if you have jokes, variations here and there, it will be a bit better. How many of us have seen those handcarts that are pulled by donkeys? Or have you ridden in one of them? Donkeys or oxen? Nobody? Or you guys come from Nairobi? Is nobody whose dad owns an oxen carrier? So usually when you board those carriers or a trailer or a tractor, most of them don't have springs. So it makes you very uncomfortable. So the same, if we don't have some sense of humor, we'll always have issues. So they say try to win confidence with smiles. Yeah. Audience, periodically share some smiles with the audience. Yeah. Speeches can be very long, but you need to keep it short. Short enough to be interesting. Yeah. So that when people clap, they are clapping for you because the presentation was good, but not because you are over with the presentation. It has been so long. So always keep it short. Keep it short. Yeah. And there's something, a scientific explanation. The longer the presentation, the shorter the retention among audience. Like even ours now it's getting to 2 hours, it's getting a bit long. So we need to be very conscious of that. So you need to keep it short as possible. Yes, no matter how important. Sometimes people feel when they are handling a very, very important topic, they want to make it very, very long. Good. So make sure you are finished speaking before your audience has finished listening to you. You get that? Before the audience has finished listening to you. We say we listen with our brains. So, yeah. And don't make a mistake here. If you make your speech very long, people will clap for you. Not that because it was very nice, but because it is over. So yes, so that I also don't double speak and contradict myself. I want to stop there. It's been 2 hours and 22 minutes, and also to allow you to prepare for the next lesson. Are there any questions? So we'll come and continue there. There are about 2 more. So we'll come and continue from there. Any question? Mercy Daniel, any question?
No.
Roy Neck?
No question, but I can inquire something.
Please, that is better. Yes.
The book that maybe we can use to, for example, writing notes or read. Yeah, the book.
All right, I will share my handout. You got it the other time,
Not
Yeah, you
yet.
got the YouTube.
Oh, in YouTube we have YouTube, but the book, or I don't know.
I will share the handout. I'll also share a book. There's a book I'll share definitely. It's quite big. I will share. Thank you. That's a good one. I will share it today. Actually, I think I will. The book is. I got it from. I don't have a lot of money, so usually I look for things that are free. It's a free book. It's created under what you call Creative Commons. Creative Commons means that you can utilize it and share it freely without without charging. I should also not make money out of it. So I will share it with you people. And I also expect you people to share it. I'm also a member of Open Educational Resources. So I like sharing free things. So I will share it. The only thing that I don't share is money because I don't have it. Sawa. Who was that asking that one? Can follow up with me just in case.
It's
That was
okay.
Roinek.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Roinek. I will share it. It's a nice book. It was actually written by there's something called African Virtue University. Yeah. So yes, I will share that plus my handouts. That will make life very nice. Thank you.
Okay.
Modoni, but I like people to be speaking.
Yes.
The class is supposed to be communication. So I shouldn't be, now that even you don't see my ugly face, you should not have a problem in speaking. So I want people to be more participatory. You are trying, yeah. So Modani, anything? I should not say anything. Say something. It's part of the exercise, communication.
Thank you for the lesson, and I hope we have all understood what we have been taught.
Yes, I will avail it on YouTube. I'll also give you books and also give you the PowerPoint. Yeah, and I have no monopoly over this topic. You can also still go to YouTube and look for something. It's nice. Yeah. And I want you to be lifelong learners. And don't wait for the exam. Whatever we have covered, go through it. That way it will be very easy for you when it comes to revising for the exam. It doesn't become a disaster. All right? Yeah. Thank you. Any other person? Because I also want to, I know you have 1 hour to prepare. Where is a boy child here? There are no men in this class. Amna mwanaume. Emmanuel is not there. Tulikuwa wangapi leo? Let me see. What was our number today? 14. All right, not bad. There is no male. Fred. Fred,
Yes.
sema bwana. I'm looking for a boy child. I'm not seeing one. Say something.
Will we have cats?
Yeah, cats, those are rare. We'll have cats, but don't worry. We'll have cats. Yeah. But I also make we always have 2 cats, 30 marks, 30 marks, usually like 3 marks. So, but you need to read a bit for it, but it's no problem. You will have cats.
Okay.
But halfway, yeah? Halfway we'll have a cat. We can have a sit-in, we can have a takeaway, so something like that. So, and thanks for attending the class, and sorry for being late. They are really doing something on Mombasa Road. So I hope you understood. Thank you for their patience, and my apologies too. Thank you. Unless we have any other questions, so I'll avail this presentation plus the book Roynek asked for. I hope I'll look for your names. So I'm using the abbreviation.
Excuse
me. Yes.
You can send this presentation via Telegram.
Yes, it's okay with me because I'm also there. Which
yes.
You have a Telegram thing, eh?
Yes, and then the slides you can send them through the email.
Oh boy, I can do both, yes. What's the name of the Telegram? It's written the same, eh?
We'll send you the link.
Or you will invite me on Telegram.
Okay.
It's okay, yeah, it's okay. Because I'm in Telegram, it's Thanks, Chemtai, for that. Angelo, you're saying something or you are moving?
No, I don't have anything to say.
Okay, yeah.
But thank you for the class.
Yeah, thank you. And practice these things. You can practice communicating. So unless there's any other question, unaweza kusimamia hapo. Ngojea darasa ingine. Thanks. And keep on encouraging each other. I hope you all communicate. There are challenges we share. Yeah. We're also in some young age. So asanteni sana.
Thank you.
Bye.